Alright, so, picking up what left off last video that I was really interrupted. So, we'll continue to talk about the Ultimate Spider-Man Collection, Volume 7. Yes. So, we'll continue with basically cops shooting at Spider-Man Black Cat, which of course basically is when they discover, oh yeah, we have this guy who's Stephen Grant. Yes. And then you have the whole scene of like, oh, let's have Spider-Man Black Cat make out before she finds out basically he's a minor. Yep. And Peter, of course, basically comes home and he has to leave a message about him leaving middle class. And then we have a guy who's working with Fisk. He gets stabbed back by Elektra. And Fisk is like, Elektra, make it disappear, and the chair as well. Yes, sir. Waiting to protect me, gloves are off. Hammerhead Moon Knight, clean us up. Yep. And then we have Elektra getting a brand new outfit. Looks very similar to a 616 attire, which good on Mark Bagley for basically put her in this particular attire, because originally she had black attire, but now she's in a red attire, which I do appreciate that they're putting this in here. And like, the whole thing with this version of the character, she's a straight up bad guy. Despite the fact she had a relationship with Daredevil. Yes. And then we have where it looks like to be like Stephen Grant, aka Moon Knight. Well, it looks like that Mark Spector and Moon Knight are two completely different people. Yeah, it's weird. It's like, because of the multiple personality thing, and then basically it's like, the Inspector goes out basically his stuff, and then we have Ox, yes, Ox of the Enforcers, and then you have supposedly stuff going on with Peter and MJ, where they're still being friends, they're not an item right now. Then you have Shang-Chi and Iron Fist basically beating up a bunch of Hammerhead goons. Yeah, and during the course of this, we actually have a death. Yes, something that I guess Bendis decided to do this because, well, and of course he has found contacting Captain Jean DeWolf over this stuff here. And then eventually you have Moon Knight getting stabbed by Elektra, and then eventually Spider-Man fights Elektra, the same woman who he actually stared at her chest, and he's fighting her now. He falls out a window, and of course the cops do not put cuffs on because of course he's working with Jean DeWolf here, and the Hammerhead thrown out a window. And then you have two characters who I should point out, though I don't think these two ever met in a comic book in the regular universe. We have Elektra and Black Cat fight each other, which is interesting because I do not ever remember these two ever being in the same comic together. They fight, and then by sheer randomness, Elektra just dies right in front of Black Cat, being stabbed by one of Moon Knight's moon things in the back, killing her. Actually, no, not her back, in the back of her head. Like, damn, that's something. And then, of course, basically, Danny is about to kill Black Cat, despite the fact that she was not the one who. And then here's the thing. And then, for some reason, I'm not sure why this is, somebody decides to throw Elektra's body out the window. I'm guessing it's probably Black Cat. And Danny Rand thinks that she's the one to kill Elektra. But no, that was Moon Knight. And then the police break in. Moon Knight's down on the ground, supposedly dead. The suspect later on, they actually have somebody else being the costume. And this is the weird stuff happened with her. And then it's revealed that Wilson Fisk is working with Jean DeWolf. Yes, that's a character turn, because in the regular verse she was a honest cop. In this universe she's crooked. But really good stuff here, and I should point out the next trade I'm discussing is going to be the last trade that basically I left to review. That basically where Mark Bagley is in the artwork. This book is amazing. 10 out of 10. Alright, so next up we have is Ultimate Spider-Man Silver Sable. Yep, this book. So, this book collects issues 86 and 90, plus the first of, I think, like 3 annuals to the series. Yes, of course, written by Brian Michael Bendis, writes pretty much the whole series. And like I said, this is the last trade I have left to review that collects issues when Mark Bagley was in the artwork. Yeah, basically there's stuff happening in another trade I will discuss at some point. And in this particular book here, this debuts Ultimate Silver Sable, who doesn't do a lot in this universe. Plus, we have debut a few other characters here. Now, in these issues here, the annual itself is written by Mark Brooks. Yeah, they have the annual first. What's the big thing on this annual? Oh, let's just start a relationship between Kitty Pryde and Spider-Man that lasts for a little while. Yes, a little while. So then you have Spider-Man fighting Ultimate Rhino. Yes, Ultimate Rhino. Yep. And somehow, someway, Kitty Pryde gets Peter's number, and she calls him. They go out. They basically meet up at his high school, of course. There's, of course, a bully pulling a wedgie on a guy who is, I think it's like a teacher. So, yeah, they start a relationship. Yes, Peter starts a relationship with Kitty Pryde. Yeah, there is a joke related to Kitty Pryde where, like, two people she dated had the first name of Peter. Yes. The other being Colossus. Because it seemed like when it comes to Kitty Pryde, in the last 20 years, she dated Ultimate Peter Parker in the Ultimate Universe. She dated Colossus. She dated Iceman. They had Star-Lord. That went nowhere because the writers don't have anything to do with that at all because, oh, God forbid we actually superheroes get married. Nope, let's have Star-Lord do something else. Let's have this big woman get engaged and then just ignore it as soon as the Secret War's wrapped up. Yep, we have Spider-Man and Kitty Pryde fight the Shocker, who Bendis made him a joke because he was not a big fan of the character. So then, of course, basically Peter and Kitty start a relationship. And Peter's happy now. And then 86 happens, where we debut Ultimate Destruction Crew. Well, the Wrecking Crew, with damage control. Wrecker, Pile Driver. Yeah, they're hired because a cargo ship landed in the middle of this neighborhood. And who did it? Frickin' Omega Red. You're thinking, hold on, Nick. Omega Red's next. What the heck is doing in Spider-Man? This is where he made his debut. No, seriously. Yeah, he attacks a Raxxon ship just cause. By the way, is there any mention he's Russian? Nope, no mention at all. Yeah, after he is dealt with here, and then of course we have where somebody goes after Peter, obviously, at, well, Midtown High. Except it's Flash Thompson taken by Silver Sable, this very beautiful woman who is clearly like 10, 20 years older than Flash Thompson, and she's making seductive moves on a minor. Yep, finds out, yeah, this is not him. Yeah, the whole joke of basically Flash Thompson and Spider-Man, this actually is a nod to the Silver Age with this one. You're thinking, how is that? Well, there was one issue, I think it was Missing Spider 4, where Flash Thompson decided randomly to dress up as Spider-Man because he's a big fan of his, and he ends up fighting Dr. Doom. Yes, seriously. So, this I think is by sheer coincidence. Like, right after we have Black Cat in here, we have another beautiful platinum blonde woman show up here. Now, the difference between Black Cat and Silver Sable is that Silver Sable is a creation named Michelini, while Black Cat is a creation of the late Danny O'Neill. Yeah, and she made her debut several years after Black Cat did. So good on Bendis basically doing this where Black Cat debuts before Silver Sable. And in case you're curious, has Black Cat ever encountered Silver Sable? They have encountered each other like once that I can think of. But she's never met Elektra. Nope. Yeah, so basically then we have the whole continuation of the relationship between Peter and Kitty. There's stuff with, dealing with the guy who hired her to go after Spider-Man for reasons. And MJ doesn't do much here. And then we have, for some random reason, police officers checking his backpack. Yeah, you're thinking, why the heck is police officers checking Peter Parker's backpack? A random back check. What? And of course, yeah, they float the fact, yes, because looking for Spider-Man. Except it's not Spider-Man. And it's Mark Rexton, except he's not Multiman in this universe. Nope. And of course, basically, he runs into May. Of course, I think there was a little funk, basically, him skipping class. So, there was a thing at the end of the last book, basically, that next big thing, the big lie he was doing with the bullcrap he was doing, she was going to kick him out of the house. So we basically continue that with the whole thing with... And then we have Kitty and... Actually, it's not Kitty. It's basically some woman fighting Spider-Man, and he meets up with Silver Sable. Which, by the way, when Silver Sable made a debut in the 616 universe, she was actually looking for Spider-Man for completely different reasons, because Spider-Man actually had retired. Because his powers are fading, so he decided to temporarily retire. One of many times he gave the costume. It became a recurring gag for years. And then for some weird reason, with issue number 89, let's just go into Silver Sable's backstory, show up her father. Yes. So, a lot of this basically goes to her backstory, and somehow she knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Now, in case you're curious though, did Silver Sable ever find out Peter Parker is Spider-Man in the 616 universe? Pre-One More Day? I think so? What, post-One More Day? No, never found out. She did kiss him once, as a thank you for saving her life, because at the time she was the ambassador to her country she's basically trying to save. So, basically, yeah, the whole thing, you have Nick Fury show up here, and then there's stuff here with Raxon, and then for some weird reason we randomly have Ultimate Vulture show up here. Now, this is also something completely random. Vulture shows up here, but he's not the only one. Oh no. They did this weird thing because these two, their debuts were in the same freaking comic book, except his appearance was a backup story. So, yeah, Spider-Man fighting Vulture. This is how I deal with Silver Sable. By the way, in case you're curious, did Vulture ever met Silver Sable in the 616 universe? Not that I know of. So then he fights Vulture for a while. A lot of this book is fighting Vulture until he's captured, and then we have S.H.I.E.L.D. break into a place in New Jersey where they run into the Terrible Tinkerer, and I'm like, wow. Let's have a nod to Amazing Spider number 2 here, because Vulture and Tinkerer debuted in the same comic book, except Vulture was in the A story. The B story was the debut of the Terrible Tinkerer. Yep. Except he's much more younger here, and so he's an old man. And of course, Tony's here with Iron Man for reasons. Of course, he's arrested because he made tech for Vulture. And then you have Flash Thompson. And then they randomly make a movie about Flash Thompson to Spider-Man for some reason. And the book ends basically with, well, a character is going to show up here soon, which I don't think I reviewed that one yet. I don't think I have. No, I have not. But, really good here. Get this book roughly a 10 out of 10. Interesting that we debut more characters in the Ultimate Universe. Now, those of you curious though about Silver Sable. After the storyline wraps up, does she ever return ever again in comics? Well, in this universe anyways. Well, she does return. Oh yeah. Like, after this story laps up, here's the weird thing related to her. She is not returned again until issue 123 during the War of the Symbiote storyline. That's where she returns. You're like, what? Really? Yeah. That was her next appearance. Her sadly put her last ever appearance in comic, well, this version anyways. Now, you're probably thinking, did she die at some point? Well, you could say her last official appearance was in the finale for War of the Symbiotes. That was technically the last time she was ever seen, was this very storyline. The reason for it, I don't know. Because at times, Bendis, whenever I read this comic, is that he has characters appear for a certain period of time, and then they just get dropped from the universe for seemingly no reason. Oh, when they had Iron Man appear in this book, yeah, the thing is, when it comes to Iron Man, like, he didn't appear a lot in this comic, most of it which is his armor, but clearly it was him. Now, those of you might be thinking, like, is the 616 version still alive? As far as I can tell, she is. Yes, at one point she did die in Amazing Spider-Man. I think it was during the Ends of the Earth storyline where she did apparently die, and then she came back. And at one point, she was briefly in a sexual relationship with Nightcrawler. Yes, these two slept together. And I'm like, you lucky dog. You get this beautiful woman to sleep with you. Yes. So, there is the Venom Lethal Protectors book, which is, well, it's a tie-in to Venom War. And that has sadly put her most recent appearance. It was that very miniseries. Prior to that was Uncanny Spider-Man. She appeared also Venom Lethal Protector 2, which is a flashback miniseries. Yes, a flashback. But prior to Uncanny, well, basically she just been appearing here and there. Because, like, she appeared bigly in the giant-sized Spider-Man Chameleon Conspiracy, which is one of these giant-sized one-shots that came out during Nick Spencer's amazing run for the book. Then she had a story in Women of Marvel. You're like, really? Yeah, really. She had a story in Women of Marvel. Well, actually, she appeared in that one. She also appeared in the Captain America Winter Soldier special, which was something that related to the Captain America Unlimited book. And then she appeared in 3 miniseries. That's been it for her. She's not dead. No. She was briefly dead. Yeah, she did briefly die in Amazing Spider-Man 687, where she did apparently die. And she came back. You're probably thinking, what is Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2? Well, Volume 4 anyway is Dan Slott stuff. Well, she actually came back in issue 25. One of the 2 $10 books that Marvel liked to push. Yes, she came back after being dead for, apparently dead for 5 years. What was in a brief storyline, had a brief revival of her ongoing series from the 1990s, this being Silver Sable and Wild Pack, number 36, which was nice they did that. Appeared in 2 issues of the Absolute Carnage Morales book. Appeared 2 issues of the Nick Spencer work, because she in Dan Slott's work. And then she appeared a few times in Nick Spencer, a few times in Doctor Doom, issue Black Cat. And then, like, after she, I don't know, whatever episode she did in a Giant Conspiracy book, she just appeared in, like, couple one-shots, and like 3 miniseries. Her most recent appearance in 6 Mix version was actually, and this might surprise you, was 8 months ago. That was the last time she ever appeared in the comics. As for the reason for it, I have no idea of why in the world they have not done anything with Silver Sable. She's not dead. It's just that they just really haven't done anything with the character at all. She is just... They're just not doing anything with her at all. Not really. Yeah, but not much to say about these 2 trades here. So I really enjoy them. Yeah, still got not a lot left to go for Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, if you're really curious, like, this volume was 133 issues. Like, how much left to go? Well, prior to catching up with our trade, let's see. To review-wise, I have... I think it's like 22... plus 6, so I think it's like 28 issues left to review. Yep, 28. So we're getting close. Yeah, we're getting close. But I think with the next review, it will be discussing another trade for Ultimate Spider-Man, but it will be picked up right after issue 111, right after Bendis leaves the book. Not Bendis. When Mark Bagley leaves the book. Because Bendis, he doesn't start writing this book until, like, I kid you not, till like 2019 is when he finally stops writing this book. After several relaunches. Yep, so yeah, that's pretty much a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. I got a stream to do at 9 o'clock, so I'm going to go through some anime right now. So first up, The Rise of Shihiro. Okay, thanks, people. Bye.